Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name's Rory Paquette, and I know you know that. Folks, I just like to remind myself how grateful I am to be able to be sitting here in this chair doing what I'm doing every single day. And that the only reason I get to do this is because of wonderful people like you who are out there liking, sharing, subscribing, and sending me DM upon DM upon DM. Folks, I will get to all of them, I promise. We have hundreds in the queue, and I answer them all myself. So when you get that one at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know it's me that's actually responding to you. Hang in there, they're all coming. If you're a friend of the program, and I know you are, then you know what time it is. That's right. We got to pay a couple bills. So let's take a sip of our preferred beverage. Man, that gets better every single time. Almost 400 episodes on this podcast alone, and it gets better every single time I pick it up. And you know what we're drinking? That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up and check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. They brew a mean bean. It's a fantastic cup of joe, and they do all the right things for all the right reasons, including supporting veterans, which you all know are incredibly important to us here at the Power Man. If you're a veteran out there, I want to thank you and your family. We're entirely grateful to you because if you folks didn't go through the sacrifice that you did, I don't get to share an opinion anymore. I would have been thrown off the air about 6 years ago. So, folks, I'm grateful to you. We love you, and we're glad you found a home here at the Power Man Podcast. And Freedom Hill Coffee feels the same way. So look them up and check them out. Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram, and tell them Power of Man sent you. Now, in order to keep up with this young buck who is just, making waves on the other side of the table from me, let me get one more sip of this preferred beverage. And I'll be drinking that nonstop to keep up with this guy. All right, folks, we're going to get right to it. He's one of us, and he is the founder of the Engaged Father Project. Please welcome Jon Hord. Jon, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, couldn't be better, Rory. Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. I'm really intrigued to hear about the project, to hear kind of what you have going on, how you got into this space, and sort of who you are. So why don't we just start with who is Jon Hord? What's your story, brother, and what led to all this?
Yeah. Well, so I'm a father of two, proud husband to a beautiful wife. And, I'm a guy that was on a path that I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing in life. And there were a couple really challenging circumstances that I ran into. And I was blessed with an opportunity to sort of pick my head up and look around and ask myself some really serious questions about how I wanted to live the rest of my life. And I made a big change, and I reestablished and I reset my priorities. And as a result, a couple steps down from that, I created the Engaged Father Project, which really I tell people that I created it for me 3 years ago. I I needed this. I wish somebody could have got to me sooner to say, like, hey, I know you're struggling and there are options here. So I think about all of the challenges that I was dealing with, and my goal is to help dads be the dad that they want to be the dad that 30 years from now, when you're sitting on a dock watching the sun go down over the trees and the water's rippling on the lake in front of you, I want you to feel so incredibly proud of how you showed up for your kids when they were young. And I want you to know that you couldn't have done it any better, because if we don't really lean into doing this work, the regret of not doing it is heavy. And I've talked to so many dads that carry that regret around, and they'd say they'd give anything if they could just turn back the hands of time and have another swing at it. They'd love to do it. And I'm not willing to carry that regret around with me. And it's my mission to help as many other fathers as I can to not carry that regret.
All right, man. I love that. Yeah, I mean, your mission is spot on. We don't have enough men in this space. You and I talked about this in the pre-interview. There's just simply not enough men who are having these conversations out there, and too many of us are getting left behind. So, I mean, I applaud anybody who starts something what you're building. So kudos, man, because I love this. The your background story. You were like 20 years nonstop trying to get ahead type of thing in corporate America. Do you mind me asking a little bit about what you did before? It sounds like it was fairly intense.
It was, and it was an interesting path and how I got there. So, like, my dad was successful in business, and I think it's worth pointing out that we we basically inherit what we see from our parents as a kid. And I can attest to that. So he went on this business track, and I basically followed in his footsteps ultimately. But it took a curious route to get there. So in high school, when it was time to decide about college, you know, I decided, I don't want to just do numbers. I don't want to do business in that way. So I went to art school. I wanted to do something creative. And I went to Columbus College of Art and Design, which is like an incredible program here in Ohio. Graduated with honors. And not too long after that, I got a job part time working for a beer and wine distributor here in Ohio. And they have a graphic design shop. And so started there part time. A little bit after that, ended up getting promoted and started running that team. And then like the promotions kept coming. And I thought that was just a signal of, hey, Jon, you're living your life right. Other people are rewarding you for your efforts. Just keep your head down, keep going. And then eventually I was offered a position in a different department. So I would basically not be doing anything from the creative aspect, and it would be more of a traditional business type of role. And what was appealing about that, in addition to, getting a raise, is that this department had some status to it. It was the group of people that other everybody else in the company wanted to be a part of it. They got to go on cool trips, and they just every it was a coveted position. And like that's my ego singing at that point. It's like, oh cool, like I can do that. So I did. And so there was like a fork in the road there where I decided to give up that sort of creative dream that I had. And it was like, okay, I can earn more money from my family. And now I can look back and realize that I was tying my value as a father directly to my ability to provide for my family. And so if I was able to earn more, that means I'm being a better dad. And so that belief that I had kept me going down this new path of trying to earn more, get more promotions and whatever. And it caught up to me. So at the end of my career there, so again, I started part time. At the end, I'm the vice president of IT and then this project management team. So if you're following along, never did I mention that I have experience in IT. So here I am running the IT department for this company, amazing company, 100-year-old company, over 600 employees, family run, really successful company. And I'm running their IT team. And so clearly they didn't hire me for my IT skills. They needed me to manage a transition in the department. So there was a guy that had been he kind of created the department and he was going to be retiring. He did the job for like 30 years. So they were going to hire somebody new and then train them up for a year. And, if you are, really like the key operator in the IT department, it's a critical role, right? So they needed that transition to go smoothly. So they trusted me with managing that process. So that's why they brought me into this role. But with anything IT related, I would tell people I was basically a professional worrier, because in IT, you're always like, you're scanning for threats, like literally in the real time, but you're always looking down the road to see like what could be a problem. And then you have to design a solution for that problem before it happens, because if it does, you need to be ready. So like I was already a generally like anxious and worrisome person. And so that role did not suit me well. And so even when I wasn't at work, at home, mentally, I was at work. I was worrying about things. Um, just mentally, it was so taxing to me.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't the husband that I wanted to be for my wife. I wasn't the father that I wanted to be for my kids. And my body and my nervous system was even giving me signals in the form of a panic attack, which I had never experienced before. And that's a very like jarring and sobering experience that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. But my system was just completely overloaded. So now I have a physical moment in time that I can't ignore. So it's like, okay, like what do we need to look at and really examine here? And it was again, all of this was painful, but I wouldn't give that experience back. Now, as painful as it was, I wouldn't change it because of what it ended up making possible for me.
Wow. Usually we don't come to these things on our own. As men, we don't go, hey, I need to be a better father. Normally, all on our own. There's usually an event. There's usually a crash or a crisis. There's something with finances, with our health, with our wives, with our kids. Something happens and it jars us awake. It sounds like that's what this was for you. Or were you a little aware of, hey, I really don't want to be this guy prior to that?
Well, I think when I was jarred awake, and then I started looking at moments that were happening as a result of me being so stressed and being so focused on being a successful provider. Like I was able to start to see a clearer picture. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, now that I'm picking my head up, I can see that, yeah, I've always been a generally, happy and positive person for like as long as I can remember. And that was still always the case, even when I was really feeling like mentally exhausted. But like my frustration and my stress and my anger was just like barely hidden beneath the surface. So on the exterior, positive, happy John, but it wouldn't take much for all of that stress and all of this stuff that I was carrying around internally to come up and out. Cause it's like, I believe that that energy will find a way out. It's almost like a geyser or a volcano. It will build over time and something will trigger it. And if the thing that triggers it is one of your kids, like maybe making a mistake or just doing something that we don't like in the moment, but in reality, if you think about it, it's age appropriate. Like young kids are supposed to make mistakes, they're learning, and they just don't have like the skills that we do. So like maybe they just do something that's completely in their nature to do with at that age, and then they would get this oversized reaction from me. And so there were moments that I still carry with me today that I can look back on and say like, man, I just that wasn't it wasn't fair. Like, and I carry some of that weight with me still. There's just things that situations that I handled that I just am not proud of the way that I handled them. Good intentions overall. I could justify my intentions in the moment. I could see where I was coming from, but now that I have this new perspective, I'm able to see like kind of really what was going on behind the scenes there for me.
Yeah. Well, regret is 2020. We get 2020 vision on our regret for sure, So, I mean, I understand that. With the panic attacks, did you have to like go to a doctor and find out is this a physical thing, or did you know right away that it was internal stress that was kind of doing that too?
Yeah, so I just had the one and I knew that it was stress. I had tried anxiety medication before that with kind of mixed results. And so it was very clear to me where this was coming from.
Gotcha. All right. I mean, at least there was that. You didn't have to go through a big long journey process to find out why am I feeling this way.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Good for you. Good for you. The as you came out of this and said, "Hey, this has happened. I'm not crazy about who I am right now. I want to be better." How'd you start? I mean, because at that point you don't have the framework for your program yet. So,
No.
you're John, the guy who created, who founded the Engaged Father Project. So you didn't have the Engaged Father Project to follow on day one. How'd you start putting it together?
So when things were really hard and like my stress and my anxiety were at like an all-time high, I had dabbled in some meditation before in like the years prior. And so there was one time where I pulled up YouTube and did a search for a meditation to help with stress and anxiety. And I found this one video, did the meditation, and it felt really nice. This guy had this like really soothing and calming voice. And at the end of his video, he had his website there. And is it okay if I
Oh,
share
yeah,
his name and his website?
absolutely.
So his name is David Elzey. His website is davidelzey.com. It's Ellzey. And he's a coach, and he works in something called the Sedona method, which is all about letting go. He's like a certified master trainer in that, and he's gone on to sort of develop his own unique spin on this. And so I ended up on his website, and I saw that he offered like free 30-minute like just consultation calls. And I'm like, whoa. Like I felt like I was about to talk to a celebrity because this person had helped me through something, through a challenging moment. I was like, wow, like I could talk to this person like who was so helpful to me. And so I scheduled the call, and I ended up working with him as a coach. And he's one of the most incredible human beings that I've ever met. And he helped me. I see, I see and I experience life differently as a result of working with him. And I'm able to see like how my own internal system works. Like when I'm feeling some really intense emotion, prior to working with him, I would feel like I was just like at the end of a chain being whipped around, and like everything is just happening to me. And that's a terrible way to feel. But because of doing this work with him, I'm able to see like how the cogs are connected, and how when one thing turns, so does another, and that kind of goes downstream. And all of a sudden, I'm able to kind of get a clearer picture of like what's happening with me. And it was utterly life changing for me. So that was my first ever experience of working with a coach or a life coach. And had you asked me prior to that, like what a life coach does, I would have given you the answer. It's like it's for people that just can't get their stuff together, and they just need general life skills, like on just how to hold a job, or how to balance a checkbook. I kind of date myself with that reference. But I couldn't have been more wrong about it. And now, like, coaching is, talked about more. And if you look at like the top companies out there, the people that are running those companies, they almost all use coaches. So it's more widely accepted. And so uh, I had an amazing experience of working with the coach. And so then I'm still at my job now. Stress is really high. And I just start having these thoughts of like, what would that be like? Like, how cool would that be if I could help other people like the way that I was helped, to make these big and meaningful and impactful changes in their lives. And so like that seed was planted. And so as time continued on, that seed really started to sprout. And I ended up having a conversation with my boss. And I just let them know that I needed to make a big change, and that you know, it would be one that didn't have me working there anymore. And I didn't blindside them with this.
Okay.
We had had conversations up to this, and they knew that I was struggling. And so they said, "Hey, we thought this conversation might be coming. We've already talked to the powers that be. Take some time and go clear your head, and make a final decision from a clearer space, instead of whatever it is that you're dealing with now," which is such an incredible move. I didn't even know that that was an option. So I took the time, and it was about 8 weeks into this time away from my job. And I was sitting on my deck in the sunshine, and I put myself into that deathbed scenario of when I'm at the end of my days and I'm looking back on this moment in time, what would I be most proud of? Would it be that I stayed on the track that I've been working toward for 20 years, successful? I was already making more money than I thought I'd ever make. You know, all the material things that would be at the end of that path. Do I want that? Or would I be most proud of taking this completely unknown path, but you're going to feel fulfilled because you're out there helping people in a very deep and meaningful way? And it became instantly clear for me. And so I called my wife and I said, "Hey, I made my decision." And she said, "I know." And I paused for a second. I was like, "What do you, what do you mean, you know?" And she's like, "I knew about a month ago what your decision was going to be. And I knew that you just needed some time to get there. So I gave you your space. And she said, I'm really excited for you. And so at that point, I I called my boss and said, hey, I informed him of the decision. And I went and I got certified as a life coach.
Wow. So you just dove right in. I mean, none of this, I'm going to keep my job for a while. I'm going to do it part-time. I'm going to work it in. You said, honey, I'm out.
Yep.
Dove in both feet. And she's like, good for you. So she supported the whole thing from the get-go and you jumped in with
Uh,
both feet.
100%, honestly. And I mean, I walked away from a good salary. She works as well. But we weren't living this crazy lavish lifestyle. And so, she said, hey, we'll adjust the budget and we'll tighten our belts and we'll find a way to make this work because I want you to be happy. And she never even batted an eye at that. And I honestly, it still blows me away to this day because had the roles been reversed, I don't think there's any chance I could have handled it with like as much, grace and support as she did. I would like to think that I would have ultimately
But
supported her in making
yeah,
the same type of decision, but I think I would have like been scared at first, but she was just like your happiness means way too much for you to do anything other than this. And so off I went.
wow. Dude, that's a great story. It really is. When you have that kind of support, I mean, that's just, that's one of those things like the commercial, priceless. When you have that kind of
Yes.
support, because you don't have to be looking over your shoulder going, is she mad? Is
No.
she feeling lack? She's behind you. My wife was that way with me, but most of the time the story does not go that way. And I'm sure you get that, how that works most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very lucky in that way.
Very lucky. Yeah. As you have been coaching men, moving forward, um, are they coming to you wanting to start their own movements? Are they coming to you just wanting to work on themselves? What are men coming to you looking for? What are you kind of marketing to them?
Yeah, so interestingly, I on my social media channels, I started doing these daily engaged father challenges, excuse me. And it's just something quick that people can try at home. And like the one that I put out today was just asking dads to be aware of their energy that they're bringing with them when they walk in the door. Or if you're working from home, if you're like down in the basement, like I am right now, like when you walk upstairs and you open the door and your family's there, like what are you bringing with you? Because you're bringing something, whether you know it or not. So, like the challenge for the day was, or for today, was before you open the door, ask yourself, I want my family to feel blank. And just whatever word is important to you at that moment, like really focus on it and then walk in the home. And then because your actions are going to change, like your facial expression will change. Like imagine if you walk through the door and you had this like really like long exhausting day, and you got another long exhausting day tomorrow, and maybe you got some project or meeting or this thing that you have to do that you really don't want to do, and you're like walking in the door, just like get an understanding that we're carrying all of that through. And so like, people pick up on that stuff. Like humans are very observant about small little social cues. And so like maybe your kid sees that and like now they're like a little bit timid because they're not sure about which dad's coming through the door right now. And you can kind of keep playing this out on like all these possible scenarios. But imagine before you walk in that door, they go, I want my family to feel supported. And they're like, okay, oh, whoa. Like even like as I'm just doing this here in an example, like I feel like a little bit lighter. So like you open that door and you're like, okay, like how can I support my wife? Like if she's there, like, hey, how are you? Like, do you need anything? Or your kids, like you want them to feel supported. How can I support them? Hey, I'm gonna like go change, but like maybe after that we can head outside and shoot some hoops or something. Or can I help you with your homework? Whatever. So it's just small little things. And so to answer your question, like what are people wanting right now? I'm finding that just small little actionable things that they can like insert into their day, like the engagement and the interaction has been just next level as a result of doing that. So I think, as guys, we're not very quick to just dump all of our emotions out onto the table and to raise our hand and say, hey, I'm struggling, I need help. Like that seems uncommonly or seems very like rare. But when you can just give them something and say, hey, this will help, like try this, then it's like, okay, cool. Like I can try that. And it seems like kind of risk free. But then, like, when that little thing pays off results and you have these dads that are creating moments that wouldn't have existed otherwise, or interactions with their kids, or they're learning something about their kids that they wouldn't have learned otherwise, then like it instantly is showing them what's possible with just such a small little behavior change. And so then it's like, okay, well, if I can get like an immediate pot of positive result from doing something quick and simple, like what happens if I really lean into this? Not like leave your job and go get certified as a life coach, big change, but like just what if you get really intentional and you just change the way that you're showing up as a father? And that's when guys go through the program and they come out on the other side and they write a testimonial for me that says going through this program completely changed the way that I was showing up as a father for my family. That's what
Wow.
James had to say about it. Like, I mean, think about that. Like that is like what is possible in like in 2 months. So like just think about how cool would it be for any father that's hearing these words right now if they were feeling the same thing that James was feeling, and that 8 weeks from now I could be showing up as a completely different dad for my kids. James didn't leave his job. Like James didn't cut back his hours. James is still busy. He's an entrepreneur. And so he's incredibly busy, but it's not about like always just making more time. It's being really intentional about the time that we do have with our kids and just making the most of it. And that's what James is doing.
Nice. When you're putting this stuff out on social media and you're offering encouragement and a little bit of guidance, that type of thing, I'm sure that that helps build some followers and get the word out about the program that you're doing. In the 8 week program, is this one-on-one stuff? Is it group stuff? I don't want you to give away the secret sauce of the program, obviously, but just a little bit about what guys might expect when they start to look it up and go check out your links and things like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. So by design, it is a group program. That makes it more affordable when there's a group that can go through. It's not a big group, it's capped at 10 people. But there also is a one-to-one option. If somebody says, look, a group is just not my thing, I don't want them to feel like excluded and like that they can't make these changes for themselves. But there really is some magic that happens when a father goes through it with other fathers.
Yeah.
To hear, like we said earlier, like guys aren't very good stereotypically about just like putting their emotions out there. But when you're in a space, in a group of guys where you start to get an understanding that like everybody's struggling here, like it's hard and it's hard for all of us. And we're all willing to admit that it's hard. Then it becomes so much easier to sort of take our armor off that we carry around and that we wear so often as men. And like when we can take that off and just start sharing things that like we haven't typically been comfortable with sharing before, like now like you're making changes that like you weren't even aware that you wanted or needed to make. And there's just something kind of magical about having the support of other dads. And then there's also some built-in accountability to it, right? Because guys by nature are kind of competitive. And so, we do like a weekly call when we're going through the program. And if there's some action items coming out of that week's call, and that there are these other dads that are going to go out and do it and implement these things into their life, like there's a little bit of extra motivation to be like, okay, like I'm going to make sure I'm going to ensure that I take this action because I don't want to show up on the next call and be the only guy there that's not raising his hand to share, the weekly win. We start off every call. Hey, what's something that happened since our last call that was a total win for you as a dad? Like who wants to be the only one there that doesn't, have a cool story to tell?
Nice. So the 8 week program, start to finish, is a 1 week or one call a week with everybody,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
individual assignments type of thing. Is that kind of how you do
Yep.
it? Awesome.
Yeah, and they end up building something that I'm calling the fatherhood operating system. And in James, who I already mentioned, he is part of this community that I built on. It's called School, which is Skool. And James shared his thoughts there on this fatherhood operating system, which is basically it's like a one sheeter. Maybe it's more than one page, but it's like the key things that you are taking out of each week, like really powerful things that you've learned and discovered and articulated about yourself. And it compiles them onto this like one document that you can read and scan through really quickly. And James shared this story about how he was handling a really tough, like, fatherhood decision. It was with his family in a vacation that the kids wanted to take, and the finances couldn't really support it. And they already have like money budgeted for like sports vacations, travel things, because that's not cheap when you're doing travel sports. And so he felt like he was in this sort of like no win situation where it's like he can either be like financially smart and not take this extra vacation going out of the country, or he has his daughter here who has all of her friends that are taking these other vacations, and she to her it's just massively important. And so he felt kind of stuck. And he said, I pulled out my fatherhood operating system, I read down through it, and he said, I instantly had clarity on what I needed to do to handle that situation, which was for him to establish, these boundaries with his kids, and to explain, like, hey, we're not in a position where we can do that. But I'm not just going to say no. I'm going to tell you why. And I'm also going to go into that conversation with you with an understanding of, like, I also want to know, like, why this is so important to you, and to know that your feelings are going to be hurt, and that you're not going to get the answer that you want. So like he was able to like not only instantly know what the answer was for him, but he handled the conversation afterwards in a completely different way than he would have before. And to know that, somebody can look back at a quick little document and just end up handling a slice of fatherhood time with like that level of clarity and assurance is, I mean, it's really cool.
I love how excited you are about your own program. I mean, I can hear the passion in your voice. So
It's a
that's
big deal, man.
a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. So you uh did you follow some teachings from, previous coach? I mean, what went into you deciding, what goes into each week?
I mean, no, I didn't model it after any other program that I went through. I got really serious and did a deep dive on what I needed when I was struggling so much.
Nice.
And it's not to say that this program is like built around me, because I do want to clarify that the work that I do to support fathers, it's not, hey, do what I do. Like, it's not, hey guys, I figured this out. You need to listen to me and I'll just tell you, you follow these steps and then you're going to be a great dad like I am. It's not that. It is really about helping the dads get really clear on the type of dad that they want to be, and then helping them become that dad. So it's like, in a sense, it's sort of like one off for everybody. Um, but it's general concepts, right? Like none of this work, like the example I gave earlier about taking a moment before you walk in your house
Right.
and just deciding the energy that you want to bring through the door. That's not hard. Like, well, why doesn't everybody do it? Well, because we're busy and our mind's going, a million miles an hour with all these other things and finances and activities, busy schedules, all that stuff. But it just takes a second. And so when you dedicate some time to like go through this program, all of a sudden you have so much clarity on like what is truly important to you as a dad. And you also learn like why it's so important. And you start to learn like what's been getting in the way of me doing this all along. So now you have this radar where you can like start to see things coming at you. You're like, oh, this has always been a challenge for me. So I'm going to pay more attention to it. So I'm going to handle this challenging thing in a different way than I would have previously. And so again, it's like it's not rocket science, but we have to be intentional about it or else it just won't happen. And if it doesn't happen, what we risk is just kind of going through the motions, right? Winging it, trying hard, but you know, what is the aim of most dads? I would say that it's to be a good dad. What does a good dad mean? Like if I ask you, Rory, like to on a scale of 1 to 10, assign like a number value to the word good. If 1 is terrible and 10 is perfect, where's good fall on that scale for you?
For me, I'd say about six.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
right there with you. Maybe
Yeah.
a 6.5. Okay.
Right.
So a 60 or 65%, that's a D or an F if you're looking
Right.
at like a traditional grading scale. Like, so is good, like, is that really what we're shooting for? Is that the target?
Right.
Because if that's the target, like, was it, I don't know if it's a Wayne Gretzky quote where you just talk about like where you set your target and like you might not get there. So if you even fall a little bit short of that, like, where are you going to be versus if you set your target much higher than that, like what does it look like to you to be an absolutely amazing father, to be an incredible father? Like, okay, like now we're like, all right, I'm gonna shoot for like a 9. I'm not saying I got to be perfect, I'm not a perfect person, but like I want to be like a 9.5 some days, like a 9.7. Like why not? And so then like what does it take? What would that look like as a dad? What would a 9.5 rating look like to your kids? And now you just start thinking about things differently. And when we start thinking about things differently, we start making different decisions. And then there are different actions, there are different results, there are different moments in time that happen as a result of doing this. And I could go on and on about just even these little daily challenges that I'm putting out on social media because I do them as well. There are so many moments that I have locked away mentally as like this amazing moment in time that wouldn't be there had I just not gone into that situation to be like just very aware and like present with my kids. There was one last week where the challenge was watch your kids closer than you've ever watched them before. Pay attention, find some detail that you've never really noticed before. And so it was in the morning before my daughter got on the bus to go to school. And she was talking. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my challenge. I'm gonna be very just engaged and present with her. And I'm looking at her and I can see that like she's got these wrinkles like under her eye that when she smiles, like they show up there. And I'm like, oh, like that's kind of cool. And then I noticed she like started doing some like silly, funny stuff. And like her left eyebrow raises up more than her right one does when she starts getting into this like funny and silly mode. And so, like, does that change her day as a result of me doing that? No, she didn't even know it was happening. But I walk away. I'm still talking about it. I still
Right.
feel good about it a week later. I created this moment for myself where it's like I was fully just like locked in, present, and aware with my kid. Now, I think our kids feel that. She probably didn't get on the bus and say, "Wow, dad was like the extra level good dad this morning." But I think those things add up over time because what did I demonstrate to my kid? You're important to me. And my phone was nowhere to be found when I was doing that thing with her. And I was fully locked in with her. And so she walks away feeling like I really gave her my time. And in my estimation, that makes her feel important, that makes her feel supported, that makes her feel seen and valued as a member of this family. And like those are the attributes that I want to work toward. And so I find a way to make it happen.
That's such a great example. And it's great advice too, for everybody to kind of settle down, maybe take a good hard look at things you haven't looked at before. I love the way you describe that. You've got this program, you've put it together. It's 8 weeks. What is your hope? What's your purpose in what are you trying to accomplish? Um, I guess the best way that I can phrase it is when they fill out that evaluation, at the end, or and maybe the commentary, right? The review. What do you want them to have gained? What do you want to see on that review so that the 8 weeks was successful?
That is such a good question. And I haven't been asked that before. So I'm going to think about my answer.
We can come back to that
Mm,
if you want.
no, I love the question. I
Hmm.
just want to collect my thoughts for a second.
Uh,
Um, I want them to say that they discovered some things about themselves that they didn't feel good about, and that they're going to stop doing those things because they realize that it wasn't having a positive impact on their family. And I want them to say that in addition, I found new things that I want to do as a father because I understand how meaningful and important it is to do those things. And I want them to say, I have an understanding of how fleeting this time is with our kids because it goes way faster than any of us think that it will. And unless you're the rare exception of a dad that like has grown kids and then has another young kid, because I there's a neighbor and a friend of mine that's doing that. And he said, John, what I'm able to do now with my youngest kid as a result of already having played the game once is completely different. And so, like, why is that? Like, most of us aren't afforded that luxury. So, like, why is it so different for him? Like, what did he learn? Like, if he's got an 8 year old, he's not taking things that he learned about how to parent an 18-year old and like applying those to an 8 year old. He's just being a better dad to an 8 year old because he understands how fast this goes.
yeah.
So, I want dads to realize that, like, our opportunity is worth so much. Like, this, when our kids are young, it's like it's like having a ball of clay on the table that's like still wet and it's still moldable. If there are things that are important to us as dads that we want to model for our kids because we want them to carry those things forward into their lives so they can have this happy and peaceful and fulfilled and prosperous life, like, we have to do that before the window closes because it there's a statistic that I came across that said by the time that our kids turn 12, that 75% of all of the face-to-face in-person time that we're going to have with them is gone by the age of 12. And by the time they hit 18, that percentage jumps up to 90%. So we think we have all this time with our kids, but if you think about that statistic, and again, that's a just a general rule of thumb, it could be different from family to family. But now all of a sudden, instead of feeling like you've got until 18, if that's the finish line, maybe it's closer to 12. And so if your kid is like 9 or 10, you're like, okay, like I really have to take advantage of this time that I've got. And I want dads to be able to be intentional with that time now while they still have it. Because if we don't, the regret is waiting for us and it's heavy, like I already said earlier. And I don't want dads to feel it. So that's like the avoiding the negative outcome, right? Which there's enough value in that. Hey, I can help you avoid this really heavy regret later in life. Like, that's enough of a reason to say, like, yeah, I'm in. But also, on the other side of things, we're talking about an opportunity as a father to like be intentional and like and to point like our family tree, like our legacy as a father. Like, we can point that in a very specific and intentional direction. And like we could be breaking like generational like chains and habits that have been there for such a long time, specifically when it comes to how we handle like stress and conflict in our lives. Most often we just resort to what we saw from our parents growing up, and if that wasn't an excellent model, like, we have an opportunity to change that and to show our kids something different. And so, like, how incredible is that opportunity to like set our kids up with something like how to handle stress and conflict in their lives, that's not going to happen on its own. Like we get to do that now. So yes, there's like avoiding all of the regret and the pain, but there's like this incredible opportunity to say like I want it to go this direction, and here's why, and this is how I'm going to go do it. And then like if we do this work now, when we're sitting on that dock and we're 80 some years old and we're watching the sun go down, it's like I nailed it. Like I gave it my all. I didn't leave anything on the table. Was I a perfect dad? Absolutely not. Did I still, get frustrated and show my kids like that I wasn't handling things perfectly? Yeah, of course, we're human beings. But to know that you showed up every day and just like really leaned into it, like think I know that that's there waiting for me, and I can't wait to have that feeling.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic answer to that question. It really is. I'm glad you took a minute to kind of think it through. And as someone who has three grown kids and is an empty nester, let me just, verify for you that pain is real, man. That pain is so real. When they're all gone, you're just like, oh, everything you've done your whole life walks out the door, and you're like, ugh. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real. It really is real. But I'm really glad you're encouraging, men to live in the moment, a little bit and do that kind of thing. So I love the mission, love the vision. It's fantastic. You brought up social media a whole bunch. How do people reach you on social media first, and then everywhere else that they can find you and your program and your school group and all that second?
Yeah. So on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, it's at the Engaged Father Project. The free father community that I talked about, which is on school, and that's SKOOL. It's also the Engaged Father Project. And the engagedfatherproject.com is my website. If you want to learn about the upcoming 8-week group that will be setting off, you can go to jumpstart.theengagedfatherproject.com. And yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, jump on socials. Like that's the easiest way to do it. And like you said earlier, like send me a DM. I'm responding to all of those. I'm having incredible conversations with people there. So that's a real easy way to connect with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. I always like to get that out before the last question because otherwise, sometimes I forget the contact information, even after all these years. All right. As we kind of wrap this up, and I appreciate everything you brought to the table today, I want to make sure that there's nothing that we missed. So, is there anything I didn't ask you about? Is there anything that I asked you about? And maybe we want to go back and double down on, or maybe a piece of advice or sort of a last nugget you want to leave for our listeners. I'll go ahead and give you the floor here for the last minute or two, and go ahead and wrap us up.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I just want to give a little word of encouragement um, to anybody that's listening to this because it's hard. Life is challenging. Being a father is challenging. There's no manual on how to do it. And the stakes are really high. So it can be really tough. And just know like that it's okay for it to feel hard, but also know that there's a group of people out there. And whether it's my group or some other community, it doesn't matter. There's a group of people out there that are willing to support you in making meaningful changes in this. And so I would just say it's always okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness or lacking when we say this is hard, because it is hard and it's okay. So I would encourage and applaud anybody to just go find a way to be supported and to do this work now and to reap the rewards now and to reap the rewards later on in life.
Great wrap up, man. I knew you were going to mic drop me on that one. So, way to go. Appreciate it. It's fantastic. So, folks, the founder of the Engaged Father Project, Jon Hord. Jon, thank you for bringing all this to everybody, for putting it out there in case anybody wants your help. We'll have all your information in the show notes, of course. And I just want to thank you also for having the bravery to just dive into this, feet first, go all in on these movements to help other men. Not enough of us are doing it, and I love that you are. So, congratulations on it, and thank you for being here today, man.
Thank you, Roy. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the time, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So it means a lot.
Thanks a lot. Folks, it's been another just absolutely fantastic episode of the Power of Man podcast. And the reason we bring such powerful men on here with these powerful messages is because we are united in hoping that you can find your power so that you can be a better protector, better provider, better leader tomorrow than you are today, so that you can be a better husband, a better father, a better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want that for you is because you matter. It's because you have value, and it's because you're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.